On to item.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you. On to item 7.2, presentation of the base level general fund operating budget.
Can you log in for me?
I gotta remember the login. I think it's this one. Oh, didn't do that one right. Uh-oh.
Don't do it 3 times.
I thought it was Emery 1.
Now you've told everybody.
Now everyone knows what it is. Our very top
going.
secret password. Yeah, we'll change that tomorrow. Put that on Parenti's to-do list.
There goes the system. Oh.
Don't open that Blue Beam review again.
Yeah, whatever that was.
That got open.
Put it under finance.
You sound like a TV ward.
I know, it's terrible.
Okay. Okay. Phew.
Okay. So tonight we are presenting what we are calling our general fund baseline budget. This is a little bit different from how we have presented our budget in the past, but we typically would bring the baseline as part of our overall proposal in May. What we're doing here is giving you a little insight into staff's process and kind of how we start our budget balancing and our proposal. So without further... what is a base budget? A base budget is just assume that all of the current service levels that are provided now to the community would remain steady over the next 2-year budget period. And it doesn't assume any increases in programming, staffing, just applies the same staffing levels, same level of professional services, supplies, maintenance, and utilities projected out for the next 2 fiscal years. And this is how staff starts its budget balancing process. What you see here is very little change from how our revenue has broken out over the last, frankly, probably 10 years or so. As we've noted in the past, sales tax makes up the largest piece of the pie at 24%. And our property tax is definitely a little bit lower than you see in some other jurisdictions at 6%. And as we commented during the transfer tax conversation, the card room tax brings in more than our property tax. We have gone through, staff has poured through all of our historical revenue actuals and has come up with what we are forecasting for the next 2 years. These are very preliminary numbers. It's early in the year. We haven't yet received all of our December numbers from our sales tax, so that'll help us kind of inform the forecast for the next 2 years. We also have just, actually this afternoon, received additional information from the county assessor's office on our property tax, so we'll be adjusting this accordingly, just slightly up from what we had here, which was frankly just flat. The assessor has done a preliminary estimate based off of the current construction projects that we have out there, when they're going to projected to come online. And then also what's really important, countywide, they are required to go back and look at all of the assessment appeals annually. And based off of that, they actually are projecting some of the properties that had their assessed value decreased over the AB8 process will actually be going up substantially. It's a requirement that they look at these on an annual basis. So we'll be adjusting this as we get more data from them. They close their roll for the upcoming year sometime in May. So we'll bring that forward to you all. But it's positive news. One thing to note on property tax, which is not very positive, the state, just based on, under Prop 13, you can increase your property tax a maximum of the just automatic 2% based on the CPI. For the first time, frankly, since I have heard of this, and this happens very, very infrequently, the state has told the county that they will not be increasing that that they are not allowed to increase it by the full 2%. It's actually going to be closer to 0.5% just based off of CPI. So we're trying to get more information on kind of what that's based on. It's a little bit odd.
The CPI is more than that.
Right, and so why the state has set it so low is not clear. And to quote the assessor this afternoon, it was, quote, odd. So we'll bring you more information on that. As you can see there, overall our revenues are, they are steady, but we are not forecasting, anything to increase kind of off the charts. Our sales tax has shown a pretty steady 2 to 3% since the downturn. We're estimating it'll continue at about a 2% rate. Same thing with business license, that's just our regular growth. Hotel tax is very interesting right now. We've seen a big jump from last year. We are projecting actually for the current year to exceed the budgeted number probably by another 5% or so. But our hotel occupancy rates are so high that you can only fill so many more rooms. And so we actually are not forecasting until the new hotel comes online, which is outside of this 2-year budget. We're not predicting that that's going to grow that much more. Card room tax, very flat. As I mentioned, the property tax will be adjusting that up slightly, but not a whole lot. And then you can see there, most of the other activity is flat with the exception of a little increase for licenses and permits, and that is just based off of the development projects that we're projecting over the next couple years. So in terms of our expenditures, again, this is a familiar pie chart that you've seen in all of your budgets. One thing to note there is the salaries and other compensation take up 41% of our general fund budget. No surprise there, and not unusual for a city. So what you can see here is our forecast, the specifics for our expenditures. We, on the salaries and other pay, we've taken into account the MOUs that have just been passed for our non-sworn employees, but we've also included a CPI for our sworn police officers. We'll be opening up negotiations with them. Their contract expires June 30th, so we've reflected a 2.6% CPI there as a placeholder. A couple other interesting things to note there. Our retirement is forecasted to actually go down next year. This is based off of the actual rates that we've received from CalPERS, and it goes up slightly in the next year. And I'll talk in the next slide a little bit about what happens after that. Other categories that you can see there, cost of health care is continuing to go up. We've projected a 10% increase, which is really based off of what we've seen in the last several years. In fact, in the current year, we've been told that we're going to have an 11% increase. Now, I will note that you all have, based off of the contracts that we just negotiated with our employees, the employees are picking up 20% of that increase. Other things that you'll see there that are significantly different, the supplies we're projecting would go up from about $750,000 up to $963,000. A big portion of that, we include a CPI in there, but a very big portion of that is based off of the increased enrollment we have at our rec center, and it's just the number of kids that we're seeing in there this year. The other thing, insurance is projected to go down slightly, and the professional services, the biggest chunk of that is the fire contract. We have included in that an increase that is based off of just of the deal that the Alameda County Fire has with their employees currently. They are in the middle of concession bargaining with them, and so that may be adjusted as we receive more information, but this is just what we know so far. Oh, sorry. Sorry, two other things I wanted to note. One is we've also included in the last 6 months of the forecast, in the second year, we have the O&M and the capital costs that are associated with our estimates for the opening of the ECCL. So that has also been assumed in there. And overall, you can see, you know, we're not projecting huge increases. When you look at what we had for our revenue, it's a difference of probably maybe $300,000. Very, very flat.
Can I ask you a quick question before you change slides? That last line, the operating transfers, really has fluctuated very significantly. Can you explain that?
I will, yeah. So this is what we've included here are just the standard budgeted transfers that have occurred every year, and those include we have $150,000 to the litigation fund, $35,000 approximately to Measure B, $250,000 to the child care fund, and then about just under $400,000 for our bond service fund. The reason why it has changed so significantly over the years, the city has had a practice at the end of the year, once it's closed its books, and it's looked at kind of whether or not there's been a surplus. And it has then transferred that surplus into other unfunded liability or reserve accounts.
So it ends up in that category.
So it's been increased, yeah. Okay. But we don't budget for it.
Right. Okay.
So just really briefly, here's a lot of numbers on the screen. You're not meant to have to digest all of this. The main point that I wanted to make here is yes, you are seeing that the rates are not projected to increase on our for our PERS rates and significantly in the next 2 years, but in the third year, we will see pretty sizable increases based off of the mortality rates and the and other investment assumptions that the PERS board has recently adopted. They did make the move to wait to phase those in the 16-17 fiscal year. So as we go through the next 6 months or so, staff will be looking at our longer term fiscal forecast, and we'll be including some assumptions on those out years. So you're not seeing huge increases here, but you will in that third year.
Can I ask a clarifying question here too? Under the safety plans, police, I noticed this in the staff report as well. The tier 2 has the same percentage and same age as the tier 1. Are those supposed to be different? Do you know the 3% at 55? I assume there might be a difference between tier 2.
There might be. You know, let me check on it, and I'll update it.
Thank you.
Yep. So what I just have put up here are some budget principles that you all have adopted over the years. These are principles that we are keeping in mind as we go through our budget proposal that we'll bring forward to you at the end of May. We're going to, make sure that our proposal also includes a set of budget policies that conform to these principles. Just running through them really quick, making sure that current year expenditures are supported by current year revenues. One-time revenues should not be used for ongoing costs, but should instead be used for one-time expenditures or to strengthen fund reserves. Fund balances shall be maintained in all major operating funds, and unfunded liabilities should be identified and funded with surplus funds when they are available. These are all practices that the city of Emeryville has really been extremely prudent in following over the years. You all had adopted that when necessary, a strategy should be formulated and implemented to address potential impacts of the state budget and other state actions that may affect city and, well, no longer agency revenues. Operating costs of any planned capital improvement should be estimated in the planning stage so that we can recognize and budget for them, and that those CIP projects also include related maintenance costs. So that's also what we are bringing forward to you in relation to our capital improvement plan, which will come to you at the same time as the budget. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Careful.
Hold steady.
41
Hold
cents.
steady. There we go. Okay, next steps. As I mentioned, staff is using the base budget as the starting point for developing the proposal. The proposed operating budget will be distributed to you all on May 16th. We'll be going to the Finance Advisory Committee on May 19th, and then we'll have a special budget study session here on the 27th of May. A placeholder in case you need an extra day, but then we are planning on coming on June 3rd for the budget introduction in order to adopt it before the end of the fiscal year. I will also say we are soliciting feedback from our employees. We have suggestion boxes that are out in the field so that they can provide some anonymous feedback. We also have an online form that they can fill out, again, anonymously. And we have an all-hands meeting scheduled to walk through the budget with our staff. We welcome input from the public at every moment of this process. Those of you watching at home, you can email me personally. You can drop a note. We will be putting something on our website if you want to fill out, again, an anonymous suggestion form. Please, 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 this is the biggest policy document, this is the policy document for the City Council. This sets the direction for staff for the next 2 years. So with that, that's where we are.
Yeah,
Questions?
yeah, I do have a question, Sabrina. And this is, I'm not happy with the fact that in 2016, there appears to be a shortfall of $389,000. What is this all about? Why would we project a shortfall?
Again, these are very preliminary numbers based off of the revenue estimates that we made at the, this is probably from about 2 weeks ago. That will be adjusted accordingly, and I imagine it'll make up that shortfall.
We want to look at a balanced budget. We don't want to spend more than we have.
Absolutely. And so what we will be presenting to you on May 27th will absolutely be a balanced budget.
And Jack, I had another comment, and this is on the staff report. It's back where it talks about the community services recreation programs have experienced enormous growth in participation, and therefore the base budget reflects an increase in part-time staffing and program supplies. I'm sure that everybody in the council is aware that that increased growth in participation are not Emeryville residents. If you take a look at the senior center, probably 2/3 of those are people outside of Emeryville. I don't know what the figures are on the youth programs, but again, if we're running into relatively strict budget times, the taxes that come in should be spent for Emeryville people.
There's a couple of things I want to say in response to that. That first of all, when you look at who's attending the after-school programs, what's remarkable is that in terms of our kindergartners and first graders, I would say that we have a larger share there of Emeryville residents, first of all, and that those kids almost to a 1 walk over from their kindergarten class and then participate in the rec program. So that's a high percentage of Emeryville children that are participating. And the other thing that we need to think about and to look at is that the way that the state funds schools, they don't care what city you live in. When the child comes to our school and to our district, they come with funding. And the ability of the children from Oakland, which are around 30 to 40% of the kids in our schools, their ability to come to Anna Yates or to come to the high school makes my child's life better. As someone who attends Anna Yates, because if she doesn't have, if there aren't 500 kids in the school, you can't have band, you can't have track, you can't have all of these other activities. So in order to reach kind of a critical mass, especially right now, because we haven't built enough family-friendly housing, we are going to be relying upon the fact that Oakland residents will be coming to our schools. And I think that they're bringing much more with them in terms of state support and also just our ability to keep running the school. So I get where you're coming from, but Cindy's ability to run a good program, I think it's benefited from having more kids in that building. She's been able to do more programming and to really build something that parents depend on and want to send their children to. So when we're thinking about that balance, I'd be very wary of eroding support there because it could have, much wider repercussions for us. One of the reasons that people continue to go to Anna Yates is that they can walk across the street after school and attend our rec program. And so if we're really planning on having a strong and building a strong school district, I think we need to support the rec.
Well, I was going to say, I think our bigger problem really is in the senior center, where at least 2/3 are from Oakland, and they only pay $15 to join. So I mean,
And they're not only
is it
only
20?
paid 20, but they're
20.
They're protesting that they have to pay more.
Why?
And they were protesting
I
that
know.
Emeryville citizens got first dibs at the tours and the trips. We got to have a little sense of reality here. I agree with your points, Jack, on the school. It's just something that I think we ought to keep our eyes on, because our first thing is to take care of the Emeryville people.
Yeah.
And that's why I brought it up. Let's not spend a lot of time on this, folks.
Oh, but I have a couple other things.
Oh, God.
I just have to remember, 40% of the kids that go to school in Emeryville are from Oakland, are from out of district. So it's a factor we have to face.
But Jack's point is well taken. They do bring quite a bit to the
And it's going to take some time to build up, and if our goal is an all Emeryville population, and I don't know if that should be the goal, it's going to be a while before we can really build up that base of families, because we have to build housing to accommodate people. So,
I have a budget comment in a different vein altogether. I've been rather hawkish over the years preceding your arrival, Sabrina, about reducing our unfunded liabilities whenever we have excess. And usually I want to do more than what staff recommends, and I usually don't get that. But at one point in time, we had reached the point of reducing our unfunded liabilities by 70%. Where they were at $10 million, they were down to about 3. I don't know where they are now, but we had been really good at chipping away at that, and I don't want to lose the fact that as a public agency, that makes us in a stronger position in terms of any bond issuance and other kinds of ramifications of being able to pay retirement pensions and whatnot when the time comes. So I really want to put that out as a high priority. And I know it always pales in comparison to wanting to fund services now, but we got to pay it forward also.
No, you all have been very prudent over the years, and I will say we are working at the staff level on looking at an update to those numbers, getting a new actuarial report. I'm not sure we'll have that ready in time for the budget, but it's something we'll be bringing forward this year to you.
So,
So,
when I can't, I don't know what it was when, Nora, you assumed office. When I assumed office, it was a $10 million liability. Until the recession, we had reduced that to about $3 million.
that's great.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, administrative item 8.1. Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Emeryville, amending section 2.2-2.201. Mr. Biddle.
Yes, so this is a proposed ordinance to provide for an increase to the salaries of council members effective in December of 2014 in accordance with state law. State law provides establishes the compensation levels for council members based on the population. The government code allows for a 5% increase in the salary of a council member for each calendar year from the operative date of the last increase. The salaries of the city council were last increased to $808.80 per month, effective November of 2007.
80 cents is by a couple
And they were reduced to current level of $768.40 in June 2010 as part of your two-year budget. This proposed ordinance would increase it to $1,098.88 per month. It would become effective, as I say, in December 1st, 2014, when there is a change in the council. That is one of the provisions of the code that, or the government code rather, that dictates when an increase in salary can become effective.
Move to read by title only.
I'll second that.
Jennifer, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I have a question and a comment as well. When you said that it's based on the population size, that was an original basis, but then as population changes and grows, certainly in Emeryville we've seen
Yeah, you're still under.
the 5%.
Yeah, you're still in the category that you were in years ago. So
And this is also based on being a general law city,
correct.
correct?
Correct.
So if we were not to no longer be a general law city, if we were a charter city, this would also change perhaps under those
You
rules.
would have the ability to establish different compensation rates for the council. Yes.
Okay. Well, and I just want to speak to this. This will not directly impact me, as you know, because since I won't be seeking re-election, but I just value the work that the city council members do and the hours that are put in, and I don't think this at all properly compensates, but I do think it's important to have a nod in that direction. We took a reduction when times were tight and everyone was reducing, and I'm glad that this has been put forward. There's one other element that city council members do receive a car allowance per month. I'm sorry, I don't have that number in front of me. I think it's 400.
Yeah, it's 300 to 400. And
if anyone else knows off the top of their head. But I just want to put that out there for the public information, that is on top of this compensation, as well as the potential of having health benefits or an in lieu cash out if you're not taking the health benefits offered by the city. So I think all that should be public information as well.
Shall I read the ordinance by title only?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
No objections. Okay. An ordinance of the City Council, City of Emeryville, amending Section 2-2.201 of Article 2, Chapter 2, Title 2 of the Emeryville Municipal Code regarding increase of salaries of City Council members to $1,091.88 per month effective December 1st, 2014.
Thank you. With that, I move the ordinance.
Is there any
Public comment?
I believe
Mr.
Mr. Carpio wants to speak.
I'll second your motion, Jennifer.
Thank you. Why are you laughing so much?
Because it's
She doesn't know what to do with the extra
ludicrous when
money.
you look at it.
It's so low, right? It's so low.
Good evening, council members. My name is André Carpio. I want to speak about the compensation of the city council. I have always thought that for the number of hours that you are dedicating into the public service, your salary is just not enough. And so, of course, I cannot go on the street and complain for you, but I really think that there should be a way to increase your compensation. And I would say that, for instance, if we make an average of the number of hours that you spend in a city council, and the investigation can be anonymous, and if the number of hours amount to that you are going to have be paid for less than a minimum wage, then this is grossly unfair. And each time anybody receives a compensation, that person is entitled to a retirement. And as far as I know, none of you are eligible for retirement. I know that Councilman Rudatken does not need a retirement, but not everybody is in that position. And I think that perhaps something should be worked out so you receive some type of compensation for the year you have put in a city council. And please take a look at it. I really would strive to protect your time that you dedicate to the public, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Carpio. Anyone else? No?
Can I respond to the public comment, which is, I was surprised to read in the paper that a number of elected officials, public officials elsewhere do have ongoing retirements after they've served, which just surprised me since we don't. And I just wanted to put that out there as well, that we don't. I don't think that's necessarily warranted, but you read about people who are collecting, you know, they served for 4 years and then 35 years later they're still collecting retirements. I find that surprising.
They're usually those small special districts that take care of themselves.
Is that what it is?
Reprehensible.
Or else they're called Bell, California. Right.
Or Congress.
Call the question.
Mr. Congress are 2 years.
All those in favor?
5.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Don't spend it all on one plate.
Right.
But do spend it in Emeryville.
Yes. So spend it all in one place.
Laughable.
Item 8.2, Memorandum of Understanding with the SEIU.
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
8.21, Resolution of City Council, City of Emeryville, approving the MOU between Mesa and SEIU.
That was
in the last one, I think.
the item you just approved.
We just
Oh, it
did
was?
that.
I thought I did 8.2 rather than
That is.
8.2.1.
It's part of it. 8.2.1 and
underneath it.
8.2.2 are part
Okay,
of.
thank you.
You're welcome.
8.